Alright, for day 21, we're going to be talking about classifying polynomials. And if at any time you need to pause the video, go ahead and do that so you can keep up with the notes. Alright, first thing I need you to do is add page 43, or 43, excuse me, to your table of contents. It's called Classifying Polynomials. And then go ahead and turn to page 43, and you're going to add the following notes and examples to page 43. If you run out of room, just continue on with the next page. Alright, for your vocabulary today, a monomial is a constant, variable, or product of both. So, for example, 6x is a monomial. It's a product of a constant and a variable. Y would be a monomial because it's just a variable, or even just say a number like 7 would be a monomial. A polynomial is a monomial or a sum of monomials. So basically, if we take two or more monomials and add them or subtract them, we have a polynomial. So an example would be 6x plus y minus 7 would be a polynomial. Alright, so the first thing we're going to talk about is how to find the degree of a monomial. And the degree of a monomial is just the sum of all the exponents within the term. So in the first example, 4x cubed, well, there's only 3 is our only exponent, so that means the degree would be 3. In the second example, 4x cubed y squared, we have 2 exponents. So all we would do was add those together, so the degree would be 5. And then on the third example, we just have a constant, so the degree is 0. So anytime it's just a constant, just a number by itself, degree is 0. Alright, now the degree of a polynomial is a little different because you've got 3 different monomials here. So what I like to do first is find the degree of each monomial, and then the greatest degree in the polynomial is our degree. So if I look at the first one, 4x cubed y squared, I take 3 and 2, that is 5. In the second monomial, 5x squared y, I've got 2, and then of course there's a 1 there, so that would be 3. And then in 6x, that would be a 1, so my degree is 1. Now, all you have to do is take those 3. The biggest one is going to be your degree, so the degree would be 5. Now, the standard form of a polynomial is when terms are in order by degree from least to greatest. So, first thing I like to do is write down the degrees, then I can move my terms around and put them in order. So, in the first one here, the degree is 4. In the second term, the degree is 0. In the third term, the degree would be 3, because 2 plus 1 is 3. And then the last one, we just have an exponent of 5, so it would be 5. So remember, they go in order from, excuse me, that is a typo. That is supposed to say greatest to least. Apologize. So that means, since 5 is my greatest degree, 6x to the 5th power would come first. 4 would be next, so 4x, so plus 4x to the 4th. 5x squared y would come next, so plus 5x squared y. And then minus 7 would be last. So we're just putting them in order by degrees from greatest to least. All right, on the second example, look at the first term. The degree would be 1 because there's not an exponent with the x, so we know it's a 1. The second term is a -3. Remember, if it's a constant, the degree is 0. And then in the third term, we just have 8x squared, so the degree is 2. So 2 is my highest degree, so that means 8x squared goes first. I like to mark them out as I use them, helps me keep track. 2x would be next, so plus 2x. And then that leaves -3 at the end. Alright, now the leading coefficient is the coefficient of the first term when a polynomial is in standard form. So if we look here, this one is already in standard form because 4x squared has a degree of 2 and 3x has a degree of 1, so that's already in standard form. So the leading coefficient is just going to be the number in the front, so it'd be 4. So now let's get to where we're talking about classifying. So polynomials can be classified in two ways, and that is by degree and number of terms. So let's talk about degree first. Okay, so the first example is 9. It's a constant, so the degree is 0. And the name for when the degree is 0 is just called a, let me change my color here, constant. On the second example, 5x plus 9, the degree of this one is 1. So it is linear. On number 3 here, 4x squared plus 7x plus 3, the highest degree is 2, and that is called a quadratic. Two x cubed, the degree is 3, and that is a cubic. In the next example, 8x to the 4th minus 2x cubed plus 3x, the highest degree is 4, and it is called quartic. And the last one, 6x to the 5th power, the highest degree is 5, and that is called a quintic. Now, number of terms is a little easier. There's only 3. Some examples here are 8 or 9, 8x, 5x cubed. In each of those 3 examples, there's only one term in each, and that is called a monomial, which we've already talked about. In the second example, 8x plus 5, there are 2 terms, which is a binomial. And in number 3, 7x squared minus 3x plus 1, there are 3 terms, and that is a trinomial. So this chart is very important. You're going to use that, so make sure you have that down. Now, to name a polynomial, you first list the degree and then the number of terms. So, a couple of special situations. If the degree is higher than 5, you name it using blank degree. So, it would be, for example, 6th degree. There's no special names for anything after 5. If the polynomial has 4 or more terms, you name it using polynomial with blank terms. So, for example, it would be polynomial with 8 terms. So, looking at your examples here, you may have a cubic binomial because the degree would be 3, 2 terms. 7th degree trinomial, that means the degree is 7, there's 3 terms. Or linear polynomial with 4 terms. That means that the degree is 1 and there are 4 terms. So different ways to write it based on what it is. So now let's look at some examples. So number 1, we have 5x squared plus 2x plus 1. Okay. First thing is find the degree. Look, the degree of this one is 2. The degree of 2x is 1. The degree of this is 0. So the biggest degree is 2. And if you look back at your chart, a degree of 2 is called a quadratic. And then there are 3 terms, so it would be a quadratic trinomial. Number 2, 3z minus 2. The degree of 3z is 1. The degree of negative 2 is 0. So 1 is the biggest degree, which means it is linear based on your chart. And there are 2 terms, so that makes it a binomial. So a linear binomial. All right, number 3, 4x minus 1 plus 5x cubed plus 7x. The degree of 4x is 1. The degree of negative 1 is 0. 5x cubed is the degree is 3. And 7x, the degree is 1. So look, 3 is your biggest degree, which means it's cubic. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. So we would say cubic polynomial with 4 terms. All right, number 4. 7x to the 5th power, the degree is 5. 3x to the 4th, the degree is 4. Negative x cubed, the degree is 3. 8x squared, the degree is 2. Negative 6x, the degree is 1. And 9 is a constant, so the degree is 0. Look, 5 is your biggest, which means you use the word quintic. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 terms, so a quintic polynomial with 5 terms, or 6 terms, excuse me. And then the last one, 9x to the 6th power minus 3x to the 3rd power. The degree of 9x to the 6th power is 6. Negative 3x cubed, the degree would be 3. 6 is my largest, so I don't have a special word for 6th degree, so I would just put 6th degree, because degree always comes first. There are 2 terms, which is a binomial, so 6th degree binomial. So remember, first thing, find the degree of each term, so you know which one is the biggest, because that's going to be your first name. Then count how many terms. That's your second name, so think of it as your first name and your last name. Each one has to have a first name and last name. Alright, now for your assignment. You've watched the video, you've taken the notes. If you need to go back and rewatch the video, do that. If you need to pull up the PDF of the notes to finish copying those down, do that. Once you have your notes, I want you to complete day 21, classifying polynomials practice on the Google form in Google Classrooms. That's your first thing to do. Then you're going to take a quiz, day 21, unit 7, quiz 1, classifying polynomials. And then, last but not least, very important, extra credit opportunity. On iExcel, go to Algebra 1, Z1. This is called polynomial vocabulary. Okay? If you have any questions, leave a comment on Google Classroom. Text me, call me, email me. We can set up a meeting.